successful game.
We'll get started. We will get started here. 3, 2, 1. Well, hello there, my friendly acquaintances. Welcome to another episode of Fire Your Boss. I am one of the 3 hosts of the show, George Bruno, and I'll let the other guys introduce themselves.
I believe, George, you are the healthiest among us right now, which we will get into for various reasons. This C-collar apparatus is not just for show, and it's not just an aesthetic choice. I have, in fact, broken my neck. Hi, I'm Jonesy. Thrilled to be here.
And I'm Frank Garon, and I have fractured my foot. There's my boot. Yep. So there we go on the injury. Wow. Mine isn't as bad as his. Just looking at him, I hurt. Like I weep for you, Jonesy. That sucks, man. How did that happen?
I'll bet you yours might actually hurt more than mine.
Only when I walk on it. only every other footstep. Yeah.
I can get up and walk around as long as I don't move my neck. I'm in good shape here.
Wow. Well, you can do the robot pretty well.
I will. And as the recording of this episode, our friend Hannah from marketing agency near you is getting married to her fiance Trevor. So I believe that's the only dance I'll be doing at their wedding.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, a hockey injury. I went headfirst into the wall. Ice is slippery, as it turns out.
Who would have thought?
So I have a fractured C6. I'm in this collar for about 6 weeks. It's going to be a little pattern disruption, little change of pace. There's going to be some bad times because hockey is my escape of it's one of my go-tos for being happy. It's my happy place, and I can't do it for at least 6 weeks.
Wow. Are you going to go and be a cheerleader for these 6 weeks?
Well, at one point I have no choice because I'm hosting and sponsoring a tournament for charity that I was supposed to play in. But my business is backing it, so I literally have no choice but to go and bear it. Despite I'll be back, so I plan on hanging out with my people. Probably not spending 5 days at the rink like I do before this past week. But I'll be going on and cheering the boys and girls on.
Oh, that's good.
You have the legs to be a cheerleader. I'll give you that, Jonesy.
You know.
He doesn't like to brag, George.
It's all about pivoting and all about making. Everybody loves a comeback story. And before I even injured myself, that was the thesis of this episode was storytelling in marketing and sales, and why we do it. And Frank, I know you have a phrase, right? It's something like facts tell and stories sell. I know that you've been saying something like that for a very long time.
Yes, those are my exact words. This cat, it's amazing. You don't see the cat at all. When we start recording, she shows up in behind me, in front of me, everywhere. Remind me to drug her next time we record. No, wait, I can't say that on air, right? Slip her a little Mickey. Keep her quiet. Is that wrong to do, guys?
It's funny. One of my favorite YouTube channels is called The School of Hard Knocks, and it's a young man going up to millionaires and billionaires and asking them how they made their money, and some of them are cold approaches, others are scheduled interviews that he has with them.
Right.
And it's not all about facts. He asks them questions. He'll say, he asks these leading questions like, did you come from money? There's not a single one that says they came from money. They say, I was on Section 8. I was, I got evicted from my apartment. I got fired from my job. My wife left me, and they tell stories of where they were before they made their money and how they didn't give up. And it reminds me of Barbara Corcoran, the woman on Shark Tank, when she says the difference between successful people and unsuccessful people is the amount of sympathy that they have for themselves. Feeling sorry for yourself keeps you down. It literally keeps you down when you get into that self-pity loop. And one of the things that I've been teaching men is pain is inevitable, but suffering is on us. And suffering is nothing but telling the story of our loss and the story of our failures over and over again in a loop in our head. So not every story is good. So we have to recreate stories. We have to encapsulate our success stories so we can speak about them on command. Most people talk about their failures, and they can talk for an hour about how much they were down and discouraged. I'm reminded of a divorce group that I went to, not a divorce group, an entrepreneurs group that I went to. And we'd go around the circle and introduce ourselves. And one of the things that I would say, now this is 20 years ago, was my name is George Bruno. I'm divorced, and then I'd go with my little Batman origin story. And I did that for months. And the facilitator of the group pulled me aside one evening after the group ended. It was just me and him. I was helping him put chairs back. And he said, I got a question for you. He says, why do you always start out your introduction with, I am divorced? And I didn't have an answer because that was my identity. That was the thing that was the story of my life at that point. And I said, is it really that obvious? He says, yeah, it is, because you do it every single time. And the next time I went to the entrepreneur group, I didn't do that because he made it aware, and he did it in love. He wasn't nagging me. He wasn't trying to cheap shop me or anything like that. But the stories that we tell ourselves, the stories of our failures, the stories of our losses, we're so good and articulate with giving you the details of our losses and failures. But then when we talk about our successes, we do it in 10 seconds. So we have to kind of reprogram our brains to tell positive stories. And I think that's so important to do.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff there. And I do have a follow-up question for you. And I got to say, I think it's a trait of somebody who has been through it to then not talk about their successes, probably in a dose of humility and, just overall respect. So you're not a braggart. What's your go-to for talking about the successes while weaving in what I don't call failures, but A/B testing your way through life?
Yes.
How do you open that story now when you're in that group, and what does the outcome look like? What is your elevator pitch now for that reason?
Yeah. Great question. I don't talk about my failures now. If people want to dig a little bit deeper and talk to me privately, I will do that. But what happens is I find that my wisdom has increased and my empathy towards other people has increased. In that group were men who would never have to worry about money, but they were defeated because of divorce or some type of failure, that kind of thing. And they sensed in me that I was speaking from experience, and they'd pull me aside and say, I get the feeling that you've been through some shit. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. You're right. And then I would share with them. C.S. Lewis, who's one of my favorite authors, says true friendship is made the very instant when one person says, wow, you too? So
Okay.
I kind of like that. I like that.
Yep. Whether it's by success or shared trauma, I suppose
Yeah.
that rings true. Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
So Frank, you literally, part of what we know about you and what everybody knows about you is the bankrupt tractor trailer driver from New Jersey who went around to end up making six figures multiple times on the internet and is now Frank Garon, the land baron. So to me, that's almost like the perfect way to take, yeah, this part sucked, but it's my driving force to then produce these positive outcomes. What was that purposeful? Was that because, like George, somebody told you, hey, don't lead with the bankrupt tractor trailer driver unless you have a positive outcome to transition to it? Or just, tell us about that. But, we know why you talk about it, but why do you frame it that way?
Well, I had two choices. I get back then. I mean, well, this summer will be 30 years full time on the internet working from home. So I can't even tell you how many times I've said this story. But I had two stories to tell. One was the bankrupt truck driver story, and the other one was the guy that went to school at night and got his logistics management degree and graduated head of his class and had all kind of headhunters and the Council of Logistics Management all calling me and saying, oh, come on down to Florida. We want to shop you around and all. And I had just found network marketing back then, and I didn't want to work for anybody. So I didn't pursue that, which I relate to. College educator, you made a change in career. You could relate to that story just as well as the truck driver one. But I grew up blue collar, man. My dad was an appliance repairman for General Electric, and my mom was a waitress. So what am I going to pretend? I did go bankrupt making money, and people did say, "Oh, me too," because I bought, I bought a biweekly mortgage program, excess inventory liquidation program. This one thing, these 5-gallon pails of this it was a coal tar, and you were running around to people and you said, yeah, I'm here to check on your roof. And you try selling them buckets of this stuff, or you do the job yourself. I mean, I spent so much money on crap. No wonder I went broke. It's crazy. You can use just about anything. Even a stupid tooth right here. All right. That happened. I have Parkinson's, which you would never know, but I get dry mouth from that. And evidently dry mouth makes your teeth, you got to brush your teeth like every 10 seconds, basically. So now my teeth are getting weaker and I've had to replace a couple. This one will be fixed in a few weeks, thankfully. But even something like that, I could have said, hey, I did it in a hockey accident or paragliding accident. I could say, hey, it's part of what I have, man. It dries my mouth out. I got to suck on lifesavers or, stuff like that all day long, just to keep moisture in my mouth. So beats the hell out of what's his name, Dr. McDreamy,
Yeah.
53 years old, man. Everybody's got something. You got your neck. I got my foot and my teeth. And George has this good looks that haven't aged a day since we've known him. I don't understand it, George.
Yeah. It's funny. I got a friend who has a wicked scar in his arm. And when he was 12 years old, he ran into a barbed wire fence and it made the most jagged cut and he got it all stitched up. But he never told me that. I'm like, dude, I go, this is a guy that I met when I was in college. We've been friends for over 40 years. I'll never forget when I first met him. I said to him, I go, where'd you get that scar? And he says, a gang fight. And I'm like, really? And he goes, no. He goes, I ran into a barbed wire fence. He goes, I had to make up a story. And, it's funny how we have to encapsulate and maybe even add a little humor to, to our stories, to our narratives. I mean, I think that is why was it Christian Bale, who was the first Batman where we heard the origin story? Out of all the Batmans, they were all great. I love the series, but I'll never forget the first one Christian Bale was in, where you saw his parents getting killed and all that, and it kind of, you're like, so this is why he is the way he is. And to me, that just made the Batman, hence the phrase, the Batman origin story.
Yeah,
it made sense. And I think when we tell our origin stories, I think it starts to make sense. So the bankrupt truck driver from New Jersey makes a lot of sense. It shows how far you've come. Everyone has a story. And I think when we sell, I've always said you communicate Like the best speech is PSO times 3: problem, solution, outcome. Every story that we tell, we share the problem, we show how we found the solution, and then what was the outcome of that solution. And I think it's a great selling technique. It sells courses, it sells books. Most books and courses, conferences, most of our things that we market and promote, if they don't have a story, it can't relate to the audience at all.
Well, exactly. It's the hero's journey, and everybody wants to hear the hero's journey, whether it's linear, like something like the Batman origin story, or something where there was a setback and then a comeback, because everybody likes the comeback story. And it's the reason I was thinking about this as an episode, not only because of this. I'm like, well, this has to become part of my story. Everybody now should know that I'm very lifestyle and time driven with my business, meaning the more I make and the more we accomplish, I just want to free up more time and not, take on more work necessarily. So, what happens? One is, 2 days ago when this happened, or it's really 2.5, 3 days ago, is, if I was a solopreneur, I'd be done. I'd have clients going, what's going on? This, that, and the third. I have systems in place by design now where the business runs, at least on the execution side, without me. I've got my ops team in place. I got Amanda there. I got our admin, Danny. I got Catherine. I got Marco doing the websites. Every piece of what I used to do myself now gets done theoretically better than me, because these people are all better at the individual pieces than I am, which is the good place to be in. So I had zero worries that day. That's just kind of a byproduct of, creating a business of systems. Now, what am I going to do this next 6 weeks? I will actually probably work more, but for a limited time only. I will put that in the disclaimer of how I operate my business, and not capping myself at the 32 hours per week. But, am I going to take some downtime? Probably have a couple cocktails. Of course I am. But, I'll find ways to work out, doing some lower body exercises, staying in shape. But I'll, for every time I would have went to hockey during the week, I'm gonna work on some projects, even if it's only for the sake of self-improvement within our business, finding another opportunity I might not have taken, and just leveraging that time, because once I'm back on the ice, I'm staying out there. That's going to be part of this side quest. So as I'm doing that, we're actually, I'm kind of jumping around here, but we're working on a project for actually somebody who is a listener of the show. It's Fire Safety Consulting. They're out of the New England area. I'll say his first name. It's John. So that way, when he hears this wicked hardcore name drop, then he's going to know it's him.
He's a good man.
Yeah, great guy. Great guy. We're wrapping up a rebrand and funnel build for him. They're basically in the New England area. They're the smoke detector guys. All right. So they do like fire safety compliance, smoke detector checks, installations, inspections, particularly to get, houses ready for sale because of the requirements in Massachusetts and the Boston area. So great. It's a lot of technical stuff, a lot of services. What's the story behind that? So there's the story of why they would do it. But until, somebody digs in further, that's not important to somebody who needs what they have to offer. And it's not just a list of facts, but, instead of, hey, this compliance check is complete, it's passed, and we have smoke detectors. What that means for somebody selling a house is smooth closing. The outcome is that you're not going to have a delayed closing, which causes X amount of money. And you save this amount of time. So, and then the narrative is framed, for the real estate agent, who, again, the real estate agent doesn't care about smoke detectors. They care about their commission, and they care about closing day going fine. So, the story is, instead of, oh, I hope this inspection doesn't fail, it's, oh no, we're ready. We got this. Uncertainty becomes confidence. And that's storytelling in literally the marketing copy. rather than a backstory. So that's just a very recent example of how this is, deployed in real time on the micro level. And that's firesafeconsult.com for those guys. And we're gonna take them national anyway. We're gonna franchise the shit out of that brand. So
Wow.
pay attention to those guys. Yeah.
And Jonesy, you talk there before you're talking about your team, how this one did the design work, that one did the whatever and all on your team. You can only be a generalist for so long before you have to specialize in something, so that you can drill down and make more money in a certain bucket or niche or however you want to say it. But being a generalist doesn't really get you anywhere, in business. You have to be the solutionist, the person,
Well, you have to take a generalist into the next level of management, vision, and strategy.
Exactly.
So yes, you can be a generalist in the execution, but you have to then become at least a proficient, if not master strategist, which is its own skill set, even though it doesn't have the tangible output that graphic design, website, social media, cinematography, that's its own thing to then master. So I 1000% agree with you there, Frank.
It's funny, when we think that we specialize, we think we're eliminating a lot of the market when actually we're increasing our market by specializing.
Mm-hmm.
I know when I went from being a general therapist in my career, which I was for 26 years, and then I cut hair part-time, which was kind of like my fun job. I found my fear was that if I make my market too narrow, I'm going to be eliminating and forfeiting a lot of business, when actually the opposite is true. And I don't know why our minds think that we're eliminating customers and revenue, when actually, when we do specialize in one little thing with a minimum viable product, we are literally blazing a trail that no one else has blazed before. And I have a lot of business as a result of specializing and saying no more than I say yes. But I have become the go-to man in my industry for very specific things when I'm working with people. And for me, that just telling that story, a lot of people feel the fear. A lot of people feel that they have to appeal to everyone, when the reality is you can never appeal to everyone. You can't.
No.
So and we've all talked about this, going down 3 to 5, like niche down 3 to 5 levels. For instance, with me, it's working with men.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what kind of man? I can't work with every man. So I had to define the kind of man specifically that is my sweet spot, the type of man that I will have the most success with. And ever since I've done that, it's been nothing but success. And I've branded myself as that guy. But prior to that, I was so afraid of narrowing my market. And the exact opposite is true.
This is awesome. And I just had to pull up this little framework sheet that we use internally for niching. And we go 5 to even 6 deep now on offers and avatars. Yeah. So, I mean, you got the vertical, which is the industry, which is, coaching, therapy, or consultation.
Right.
Demographic, you can keep it as simple as men or women. And even from there, you go deeper into age. Psychographic, this is where it gets deeper. And, you can use psychographic to be as simple as, skeptics, open-minded. There's a lot of different frameworks. We use the VALS framework because there's like 10 different. Here we go. Innovators, thinkers, believers, achievers, strivers, experiencers, makers, survivors. Again, you can even keep it as simple as somebody who is more laissez-faire or somebody who's more structured. Somebody is X, Y, Z and not A, B, C. That your psychographic can be that simple. And then the next 2 are the pain points and the trigger moment. So pain point, besides being in my case, neck, in Frank's case, foot, is, what are they experiencing? If it's something as simple as lead to close ratio, or they need more brand awareness, or whatever the overarching problem is to solve. And then the trigger moment that could be, I'm sick of this, or being a business owner, or if it's the business owner serving somebody, it's, oh shit, my roof is leaking, or I need a new heat pump, and wow, that's a $10,000 unit. Trigger moment is an expense, and the solution then becomes financing or whatever. So we combine those 5, and that's really what a target niche becomes. Not only for us as an agency, we do regulated. This is our specialty. It's typically regulated industries. So think real estate, insurance, finance. In the United States, we'll make exceptions, of course. Businesses who are established and generating, 500,000 to 5 million per year. Otherwise, we're not the best agency for them. Right. Pain point is typically revenue and scalability. And then the trigger moment is, we're doing all of this and nothing seems to work. Meaning they have a lot of good pieces that are just not working in concert. And then that's who we serve. We create a life cycle and omnipresent system and marketing for them. And then each of our clients, in turn, we use that same framework to create their offer and their avatar. And two different, two different general paths to go down. If you're already established, that means you have the revenue to then say no to some jobs and stick in your niche and get better at your niche. If you're new, yes, it's very, very appealing to want to say yes to everybody. I was in that point at first. So I would say do this is, if you're, launching the side hustle before you're fully in, be very specific, be deliberate with that niche. If you are burn the boats and full in, do the same thing, position yourself that way, allowing you to take on earlier clients, but not making that, you still want to serve your niche the best, with exceptions, I would say, to get that early revenue, if that's a requirement. So in the long term, you're positioning yourself to say no, with the flexibility to say yes in the meantime, knowing it's to get your name out there. It's a form of marketing almost. So that's my long-winded thesis on all that.
It's funny. I just did an interview. I was a guest on a podcast with a Palestinian young man who moved to Dubai. He's a personal trainer, and he loves the Fire Your Boss podcast. And one of the things that he told me that he has done is, when you talk to personal trainers, it's like it reminds me of when I was conducting therapy and I worked at a clinic and all this stuff. And I would talk to other people, other therapists and whatever, at conferences and events or out and about. And people would say, yeah, I'm like, oh, so what do you do? Oh, I'm a therapist. I'm like, oh, what do you work with? Anxiety, depression, eating disorders, sexual abuse. I'm like, oh, you do it all, really? Okay, sure. But basically what they were telling me was they do it all, but not really well.
Sure.
So this personal trainers are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
He niched down to the point where he says, I work with men over 50 to get their fitness and health dialed in. I'm like, wow. So he wanted to interview me and said, okay, as a man who's 66 years old, how do you stay in shape? How are you different now than when you were 40? What do you do now regarding nutrition, diet, exercise? How often do you work out? What is your sleep schedule like? And everything that he's doing now is based upon a guy that's got a little bit of gray hair, who
Mm-hmm.
might want to get in shape. He might have gotten a diagnosis of high blood pressure, or he's pre-diabetic or something like that. And this guy, as soon as he niched down to who specifically he wants to work with, his business took off.
100%.
Yeah, because he's not trying to be a jack of all trades.
Yes.
And I mean, I hear that. I'm like, oh, I could use a guy like that because I'm 61 and, I used to ride a bike 100 miles a week. And past few years, I haven't done it at all. And I have to get back into shape. I've got about 20, 30 pounds I'd love to lose, need to lose and will lose. But, yeah, I mean, it's, and there's differences too. Some personal trainers will meet you at the gym. My last personal trainer came to the house 5:30 in the morning, and you damn well better believe I was in my shorts and my t-shirt ready to go at 5 in the morning when she came.
Mm-hmm.
And it was worth every penny. Some people need to leave the house and go to the gym, right?
Yeah.
So you can even play that angle. Okay, you're too busy to go to the gym, I'll come to you. I'll bring the gym to you. All you need is a little bit of equipment. You need the discipline of coming out to a gym, come to ours, because here's why. We understand that you only have so much time. We're going to give you the most action-packed, maximum benefit workout that we possibly can in the 45 minutes to an hour that you're here. It's the same thing. You're doing the same thing. You're just packaging it differently and offering it to a slightly different market. It's like, George, you like to talk about the chicken soup books. They got chicken soup for everything now.
Yes, they do. Yes.
Plumber,
Right.
yodeler, the whole nine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's funny. Some of my favorite short form videos on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube shorts are before and after fitness stories.
Right.
And I love seeing like the fat guy or the fat gal, and they're not afraid to press record, to show their big belly and whatever, and show kind of like the time lapse. And then of course, like the last 10 seconds is them flexing and it's like, wow, the transformation. But the psychology of those progression or progressive fitness shoots, they are a story.
Mm-hmm.
I used to be 50 pounds. Like you said, you could stand and lose 20 or 30 pounds. When you get to your goal, you're going to have a story. I was 61 years old. I was 30 pounds overweight. I did this, this, and this. And then I tried this. And now I'm in the best shape of my life at 62, that kind of thing. And that's very relatable. Facts tell, stories sell. Not everybody who is rich, like that young man from School of Hard Knocks, when he asks the entrepreneurs, were you born in money? Did you come from money? And all of the people start laughing, and they start telling, they were sleeping on the floor. They didn't even have a bed.
Right.
Anthony Robbins tells that story where, he was living in a crappy apartment, dishes piled up in the sink. He was sleeping on the floor. Anthony Robbins, and when he tells that story, it's like, wow, now he's worth what, 100? I don't know. He's
a
worth
lot.
billions.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, a big number.
Yeah, it's a very big number. But that's a powerful method. Storytelling is and if it's paired with visuals, oh my gosh, it's incredible. But going back to what you said about how you're going to pivot for 6 weeks, it reminds me, like I cut hair a couple days a week at a salon, and it's like my fun job. I think everyone has to have a fun job or a hobby kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the lady that owns the salon told me recently, and she's not a young woman, but she's got more energy than most women half her age. And she said to me, I want to start working on the business rather than in the business.
Mm-hmm.
And that was like an aha moment for her, because when you're working on the business, you are multiplying your efforts. When you're working in the business, you're just trading time for money.
My God, George, this is a fantastic segue into our next episode. Yeah, I mean, you're e-mything this right here. Michael Gerber's The E-Myth Revisited is required reading for all entrepreneurs. It's the foundation of the entrepreneurial operating system. It's a good refresher once in a while if you find yourself in that trap of working in rather than on.
Yeah, that's true. And when you work in the business, you provide a service, they give you money. It's like a jukebox. The music stops playing when you stop putting quarters in the jukebox.
Yeah.
And that is a hell of a way to make a living, because if there's anything that can come in between you and revenue, short little story here. I worked at a salon once many, many years ago where there was a water main break. And for 2 blocks in that direction and 2 blocks in that direction, there was no water, which means at a salon, you need running water. Without water, the salon doesn't run. Now, salons don't offer pay if the place is closed. I was only making money while my scissors were moving. Okay.
Right.
And so the salon closed for 10 days. That was 10 days without income. Same salon, we had a wicked snowstorm, and our parking lot was packed with snow. Sidewalks weren't shoveled. Pretty much the town had shut down for 2 days. And that was 2 days without income. COVID comes along, and the salon had to close for 3 months. And I remember saying to myself, I've got to water main break proof my business. I've got a snowstorm proof my business, and I have to pandemic proof my business, because I can't let things stand in between me and revenue. And, here's Jonesy. The guy breaks his neck, literally, and his business is still operating. Brilliant.
Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself, George.
Well, and I say that's, I have no choice, but it's a choice I made.
I think all businesses need to do this. I mean, everyone, not everybody has learned how to break free from the jukebox mentality. You provide a song, they put a quarter in and the jukebox makes a song. And I think that when we start thinking in those terms, can you go away for a week? Can you go away for a long weekend and still have revenue coming in? And with most people, most entrepreneurs, that's not true. If they take a day off, or they're afraid to take a day off because there won't be any income. There's a lot of people who are just constantly on the phone doing business. What if you shut your phone off for a day, right? Like, people fear not having their phone. If the phone breaks, I know I had to get a new phone 3 years ago. 3 days. 3 days, no phone. The anxiety was unbelievable. Oh my God, no one can reach me. My business is closing down. What is happening? And it was horrible. It was horrible. And I had to make a change, man. I had to make a change.
Final thoughts before we go into next epi?
Anybody can do this. Everybody has a story. You just have to, well, a lot of times we don't see the story in ourselves. So you're better off going to somebody like one of us or somebody else in the business and just say, hey, can I talk to you 5 minutes about my background? And you see anything here that I should emphasize? Because, I mean, for me, the truck driver thing was interesting. And I was proud to be a truck driver. I hated working for other people, but I was very manly, driving a tractor trailer. I still miss that. I miss driving a tractor trailer. I really do, because it was a fun, enjoyable job, especially at the end when I was part-time and I only worked 2 days a week, and I worked on my internet business 3 days a week because I knew I was on short time. And what a blessing it was to know I was going out on a high, you know what I mean? Like, in a new truck at a great company that I would have been happy to have stayed there with. And my point is, I didn't know how valuable that story was until a couple years later. People started saying to me, oh yeah, you're the bankrupt truck driver from New Jersey, aren't you? My newsletter, and thank God I found that. But, most people, they don't have that luck. You have to bounce it off a few people and say, hey, what do you know about me? Or can I tell you my story? And would you tell me how you would market me or what I should lead with? that sort of a thing. Because, like I say, everybody has at least one story in them, if not more.
That is so true. And helping people, that's the one thing that a consultant does, helps people encapsulate their stories and make marketing out of it. And so many people are afraid of talking about their failures when actually those failures and those false starts are part of their story. A lot of people, I think naturally as humans, we catastrophize and we'll say things, oh my God, that's the end of my career. I'll never be able to do this again. I'll never be able to make money again. When the reality is, we are tempted to think that. But the role of a consultant is to take a person and show them how their story is part of their marketing. It's a solution. Problem, solution, outcome.
Mm-hmm. At best, you can make a story that connects with somebody. At the worst case scenario is you reduce friction. And when you reduce friction, you make money. Simple as that.
Yeah. I like that.
And if you want to support a couple of injured authors, go to fireyourbosspodcast.com and order our book.
Yeah, here. I'll show them my boot again just for sympathy.
Yeah.
Look at that foot. Look at that. Wearing out 6 weeks. My ballroom dancing career has come to a temporary end, guys, I'm afraid.
Well, then you must pivot and find your next chapter.
Well, that's it. It's not going to be anything with my right foot for a while, though. That's for sure.
That's going to be Fire Your Boss Part 2. Volume
There
2.
you go.
Gonna rise above, start my own successful game.